My actual league start for 3.27 will be a Kinetic Blast of Clustering Necromancer. Now this patch brings with it one singular buff for Necromancer, which is doubling the per corpse attack and cast speed bonus you get from corpse packs. Now the cap on that thing is still 200% increased attack or cast speed, however this makes it much easier to actually hit that 200%, something that was actually quite hard to do in the past. In fact, now you're actually able to hit that 200% only using Spellslinger setups, so there's basically no investment, 200% increased attack speed. When I'm evaluating various wand ascendancies against each other, I'm kind of looking for a baseline of about triple damage. Consider things like, Warden's got 100% shock, which is double damage, and then Tinctures. Or you have Elementalist with its insane golem scaling and a 65% shock. Corpse Pact alone, that node on Necromancer, triples my damage by itself because of the attack and cast speed, but also because of the built-in shock aura. Now it also comes with chill aura, which is fantastic as well. However, Necromancer does one thing that every other ascendancy besides Guardian fails to do, and that actually is to provide low investment multi-hit mitigation. Using Bone Offering and Shield with block on it, you're really easily able to hit pretty high levels of block and pretty easily actually hit max block in the early endgame. Now the off chance that Kinetic Rain is highly overperforming, I mean this is possible, you don't even need to switch into a mana stacking setup, you can still stay on generic damage because Necromancer provides you with generic power, right? Increased attack speed is good on every single wander you can play. And while the late game transitions into a Whispers of Infinity mana stack, regardless of which option to go for, I've chosen not to include this because we don't really know the drop rate on Whispers yet, and if there are other uniques that are more build enabling and much more easy to access, I prefer to go for those in the early endgame. Now then, this POB is designed to be as simple as possible, extremely easy to follow, with really concrete steps. And once you're set up properly, all you really have to do is attack. I think the only manual skill I might press or consider pressing is Arcane Cloak. Other than that, you just attack because I'm using 3 different trigger setups to automate a bunch of different utility. Let's jump into the POB. I want to talk about each progression step, at least thematically, and then if there's other questions or you need more detail, I have a Wander leveling guide. I have tons of fresh SSF starts for how to league start a Wander. You can look to that. So I'm actually leveling this build with Kinetic Bolt right away. I also use a Holy Flame Totem. You can see this in terms of like all of my leveling these days. I really don't like to play Rolling Magma. Though you could just play Rolling Magma, Armageddon Brand, Cremation, Firestorm, that whole setup. I want to play wands early as possible. You play Kinetic Bolt, you want to buy Prismatic Burst off Nessa. Really straightforward setup. It's a shame that the end of Act 1 is a little bit awkward because you don't really have good notes take after this, but yeah. Standard Ranger meal to get momentum. Moving into Uber Lab, this is sort of the first major step that starts feeling really good. Because at level 28, you can get Kinetic Blast, or you might be able to get Kinetic Rain next patch if it's good. There's also 4 really big clusters. Double Wand Mastery means you get +1 proj if you are playing Kinetic Blast. This Fire Mastery is 100% increased damage, and then just getting early mana actually feels really good, because flat mana is like, I just think it makes you feel much better when you don't have Leech and you have Flasks and stuff like that. The skill step at this point wants to run a Ballista setup. I want to go towards Library, and I've included notes for a lot of the gems that I would consider buying, if not buying all of these things. One thing to note is that somewhere between normal and cruel lab, you really want to prioritize putting in Tornado with Spellslinger. That, when you're playing with Kinetic Blast, is an incredible amount of damage. I don't know how much it is. I haven't done self-poison hit testing or like life leech stuff, just too lazy. Cruel Lab though is when this build really starts to take off. It is when you're able to allocate Corpse Pact. At normal lab, I go for like this, but at Cruel Lab, you want to switch a bunch of things around. This is when this node comes in, and it should just be pretty much, almost full uptime at full stacks. And then you run a second Desecrate or second Spellslinger setup. This one runs Desecrate, Cascade, and Volatile Dead in the same setup. And you also want to path over to Undertaker at this point in time. This is when you get all your attack speed. Build starts to feel really amazing. And I can even really test it this patch because we're only at 2%, right? But doubling the attack speed bonus is just going to be crazy. Into Merc Lab, this is when I actually imagine I'd want to do my swap into clustering, and this tree kind of starts to spec a bit more into mana. It's a lightning-based clustering setup, so you want to play Fizz to Lightning support over here, and you also want to grab Conversion on one of the 2 Lightning Masteries, one of these 2. This one is probably, better take early if you're short nodes. But clustering is really great. One, it doesn't really need extra proj as much, so you don't care as much, I think, personally, about dropping multi-shot or this wheel. Split shot's really good. I would just anoint this later because it's, relatively cheap. And obviously it's hard to plan your gear out. But when you have 2,000-ish mana at level 67, which is almost like for free, like easy to get, right? That's like 2 times like 0.17, which is 340 flat fizz, which is like an absurd amount actually of damage to have. So yeah, that's gonna be really OP, I think. Clustering is just insane. It's got better clear than KB, I think, by most people's estimations, and yeah, this is when I'd go for that. You can buy the gem off trade probably, or farm for it yourself in lab, whatever may be, you want to do that. And then the final setup here, I've kind of just expanded further upon it. I'm running a Healthy Mind now, and I rep Reckless Defense. I know people are a little bit hesitant to, run Legion Jewels early, but Glorious Vanity might be okay in this location particularly. And the reason why this might be good is, and I haven't tested this part of the build out, but your Volatile Dead might actually do enough spell damage that you can take like these 3 nodes and actually leech ES from your spells only and then skip Ghost Reaver. So now you're splitting your damage between life and ES, having a bigger ES pool because of Doriani, and then going hybrid leech right away. But that's not what the plan is right now. This is the current plan. It's very, very simplified. You know, the gear is like life mana. There are a lot of suffixes to make up as far as like res and attributes go, but actually not that much. And I also opted not to go suppression. Now, if you're in a softcore trade and you, for some reason, still want suppression, you can pat down to inveterate, or you can just click this and click suppress lucky and call that a day. Either way, it's probably going to be a really safe league starter to play. I think I'll be progressing this hopefully pretty well on day one. I'm like feeling pretty sick still, kind of feeling like shit. But hopefully I'm able to play it out and feel much better tomorrow. And then I can move into some of the deeper endgame stuff, and I'll be releasing that as I play into it. I think there's a lot to experiment with, but at a baseline, I think this is going to be a very safe build to play. Feel really good, gonna have amazing clear, good multi-mitigation, decently sized max pool, and most importantly, just like, you know, 1 button as opposed to like 15, like my last build. So yeah, see you at the start.